Turning now to one of our earlier stories, the Prime Minister has slammed the previous Morrison government over missing cabinet documents from the time of the Iraq War. Earlier this week, the National Archives of Australia publicly released 240 previously classified cabinet records from 2003, but some of the documents have been withheld from the public because the previous government failed to hand them over with the rest of the records. Joining me now live is Cabinet historian David Lee. David, thank you so much for joining us. The Prime Minister said this morning that except for circumstances where people would be put in danger, there's no reason why these latest documents could not be released. What do you think that they could possibly contain?
Well, the documents could contain a lot of valuable information from one of the Howard government's most important cabinet committees, the National Security Committee, which was frequently meeting in the period leading up to the Iraq War. So I'm sure that these records will shed a lot of further light on the reasons why the Howard government took Australia to war in 2003.
Well, we already know from the documents that were released back on January 1, there were a number of revelations about how the Howard government processed and thought about its role in that Iraq war. So why would this particular file be withheld?
Well, the National Archives hasn't typically released those cabinet committee documents. They've concentrated on the full cabinet records. There were a couple relating to Iraq, but there are many more in the National Security Committee, I understand. I haven't seen them yet myself, but we know that that committee was very influential.
All right, well, now this goes to an inquiry. What are you hoping it will find?
I'm hoping it basically identifies the necessary documents, and that the government and the National Archives release these documents, the NSC, National Security Committee documents, in the public interest as soon as possible. That can't be done immediately because there will have to be a vetting or examination process by relevant agencies. And the government could even consider going further to look at departmental records like of PM&C or Foreign Affairs or Attorney Generals that also will have relevant records. So there was never any inquiry on Australia's involvement in the Iraq War as there was in Britain. This could substitute as a kind of fact-finding exercise that will help our understanding of the reasons why we entered the Iraq War.
And what did you make of what was released about the Iraq War on January 1? What were the key takeaways in your view?
The key takeaways were that there was an oral submission by the Prime Minister. He was hands-on. He was dealing with President Bush. He was the major decision maker. It doesn't tell us what he actually said, but it tells us the decision that was made, including the Cabinet's concern about weapons of mass destruction and about the government's concern to maintain good relations with the US, all of which were front and centre in the rationale of the government in explaining why we went to war. Of course, this was, according to many people, an illegal war because the United Nations regarded it as not being lawful because the Security Council didn't authorise it. So only a number of countries participated in this military intervention.
Well, it's certainly interesting, some of those details. David Lee, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.